Right, I don't know what we are going to play. I don't really know if I'm going to play this. Is that a tornado? Yeah, that is a tornado and stuff. Why is there tornadoes?
In this training module, you're going to look at making the train move and then bringing it to a stop again.
I know.
While many trains have different controls and are operated in different ways, there are basically always 3 controls that are common and are required to move the train. The reverser sets the direction between forwards and backwards. The brakes are used to slow or stop the train. The throttle controls how fast the train accelerates. In this train, the throttle and brakes are controlled by a combined power and brake handle. Pull the power brake handle toward you to release the brakes and apply power. Now that you've reached your target speed, you can move the throttle control back to 0. The train will then coast on level ground, and the train will only slow down very gradually. While the specifics of operating brakes vary from train to train, the basic process of stopping is fundamentally the same. Bring this train to a complete stop by moving the power brake handle into the braking range. The amount of braking you'll need to apply also varies depending on whether... That concludes this module. Restart the module to learn the steps again, or move on to the next module.
Okay, that's cool. Continue. I've already done passenger operations. All because of
In this training module, you'll be learning basic passenger operations in a BR Class 323 electrical multiple unit. When you are ready, climb aboard the train. Take a seat in the driver's position. To unlock the control desk, insert the master key. Great work. To allow... Now that the passengers have boarded the train, close the doors. This train has a combined brake and throttle handle. Apply a small amount of brake to gently bring the train to a stop at the next station. Good work. Close the doors. Reach the next destination unguided. Great job. That concludes training on passenger operations. In this training module, you will be learning how to change driving ends of a train. During this brief introduction, you will be taken through how to set up a cab for driving, shut down a cab, and how to change which train cab is the lead. Firstly, we need to set up this cab for driving. Set the master key to on to unlock the control desk. The reverser is used to set the direction of travel. Apply some power. When ready, set the brake throttle handle to neutral. Remove the master key. Well done. You have successfully shut down this cab. Now travel to the cab at the other end of the train. Sit in the driver's seat. Now activate the new cab for driving, following the same steps as before. Well done. You now know how to change ends in a train. That concludes this training module. This module will go over the fundamentals of operating junctions to change the path your train will take, and how to navigate using the map. Most rail lines around the world are controlled remotely by a signaling center or dispatcher. From the perspective of the train, the direction taken is automatic. But within yards and depots, many small and frequent movements are required. This makes remote control of the track impractical. In these locations, the direction taken is manually controlled. You can set junctions by either walking up to them and interacting with them, or going to the 2D map and changing them from there. Let's change this junction by hand first. Walk over to it and change it by operating the lever. Notice how the point blades move on the track. Try moving it a few times so that you can see how it works. Let's head over to the train, and then we can look at the map. Open the map and change the indicated junctions.
Oh!
Your junctions are set correctly. Let's get the train moving and see it all working. If you can't remember how to make the train start and stop, there is a training module you can rerun to remind yourself. We want to move the train forwards, so move the reverser to that position. Now that you've reached your target speed, you can move the throttle control back to 0. The train will then coast on level ground, and the train will only slow down very gradually. Bring this train to a complete stop by moving the power brake handle into the braking range. That concludes this module. All the junctions in the training center are manual, so you can go anywhere you wish using the map and by changing junctions manually. If you want to practice, go go to Explore on Foot in the training center. You'll find trains dotted around, and you can practice driving them and moving them around the yard. Don't forget, you can always rerun this training module later if you can't remember any of what's been covered.
Diesel train.
In this training module, you're going to learn to drive a diesel-electric locomotive and how the controls differ from a multiple unit. This is a BR Class 66 diesel-electric locomotive, typically used for freight operations in the United Kingdom. The reverser sets the direction between forwards and backwards. There are 3 types of brakes in this locomotive, and which one you use will depend on the situation. We'll learn more about the different brake types in future training modules. The throttle controls how fast the train accelerates. We want to move the train forwards, so move the reverser in that direction. Keep the brake control and release until you can see the brake pipe control needles are reading 5 bar, pointing upwards. This will release the brakes fully. Watch the brake cylinder, or BC gauge, to see it gradually reduce to 0, which tells you that the brakes are now fully released and you can move the train. As you apply power, notice the amp bar rising. This is the amount of power being fed into the traction motors. Now that you've reached your target speed, you can move the throttle control back to 0. The train will then coast on level ground, and the train will only slow down very gradually. Brakes in this locomotive are lapped. Rather than directly selecting the brake force with a handle, you use the brake control to add or release braking force. Braking force will be held until you release it, as you did before setting off. Bring this train to a complete stop by holding the brake control in the apply state until you see the brake pipe control needle in the center of your cab desk showing about 4 bar. The amount of braking you'll need to apply also varies depending on whether you're going uphill or downhill. That concludes this module. Restart the module to learn the steps again, or move on to the next module.
Okay, wait, stop. Where next, Jacob? Look at the couples and
In this training module, you're going to learn how coupling operations are typically performed. Coupling and uncoupling is important both for freight and passenger operations. Different regions and trains have different methods of coupling, but the fundamentals always remain the same. You'll be operating a BR Class 66 locomotive and coupling and uncoupling to mineral wagons, which are typically used for transporting coal, ores, and other mining products. This locomotive can couple with either Buckeye or Hook type couplers. Before you couple, you should inspect them and ensure that they're in the correct position. Attempting to couple when couplers are in the incorrect position can cause damage or derailment. Now let's head into the locomotive and couple to the wagons. You'll be backing up to the wagons, so set the reverser to the reverse position. Keep the brake control and release until you can see the brake pipe control needles are reading 5 bar, pointing upwards. This will release the brakes fully. Watch the brake cylinder, or BC gauge, to see it gradually reduce to 0, which tells you that the brakes are now fully released and you can move the train. Apply some throttle to get the train moving. The external camera provides Slowly, come to a stop just in front of the wagons. You need to be close enough to allow coupling. Ideally, the buffers should be touching. Couple the wagons to the locomotive. You can either do this on foot or use the external camera. Good work. Now, change direction with the reverser and bring these wagons to the indicated location.
thing that shows out there, and I'm panicking. I'm panicking that I can't get the thing back that's down there. Because I can't.
Pause it, back to it.
Why?
Because we've got this meeting. Just pause it, it's fine. Don't fuck with it.
I'm gonna have to pause my stream.
Yeah, pause your stream now.
How long are we gonna be there?
I don't know.
Right, but to pause my stream it's shift. Well, I hope that's how it is.
No. That didn't do anything.
No, I stay at hotkey.
It's not done it yet. It's still streaming. Stop streaming, still there. It's still recording. Still there.
Let me go and check the hotkeys again. See?
No, but that's for recording, not for streaming.
Oh.
I have to go to the opposite. Where was it? Settings. And hotkeys. So that's just for recording. Don't do recording though. So stop streaming will be shift. Delete that.